Welcome to Latte with a Lawyer, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the stories of some of America's most successful lawyers, figuring out what makes them tick, how they creatively solve problems, and how others aspiring to be them can follow in their footsteps.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Latte with a Lawyer. I'm your host, Jonathan Brickman, and is it afternoon? This afternoon, we got with us Eric Schanowski. He's with the law firm Gimbel, Reilly, Guerin, and Brown. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan.
You bet. Where are you located? You're in Milwaukee,
In Milwaukee.
Right? So it's still the morning there, right?
Right. Yeah, it's almost the afternoon, but 11:30 a.m. here.
Okay. So Latte with a Lawyer, what's your morning beverage to get started?
Well, I'll tell you what. Usually I just make coffee at home. I'm kind of boring that way.
Okay.
I haven't gone into the need for Starbucks yet. So we often just make coffee at home. Try to mix up the flavors, but honestly, just some plain black coffee at home. A little pick me up before going to work in the morning.
Get it. Oh, so you guys are all back in the office, going into the office?
Yeah, well, here we go in pretty much every day,
Oh, good.
which has been good because since starting here, I've gotten to know everybody. For a couple years from 2020 through basically last year. You did so much remote work that a lot of times I didn't meet people until a couple months, into an assignment. So it's been good to actually get to know everybody here.
Yeah, good. Now, listen, I think going back to the office, at least on some regular level, is a good thing. So I'm glad to hear that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It helps you build camaraderie, and it's easy to run down the hall and ask a question. A lot of times if you're remote, scheduling a Zoom meeting could take, several days just to get to the point where, you can link up with somebody. So
There
it's
you
been
go.
nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
So tell us about your practice. What kind of law you practice?
Yeah. So I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and we handle all kinds of cases. We also handle criminal appeals and raise different issues on appeal post conviction. So that's been really interesting work. You deal with a wide variety of clients. I think it's really stimulating legally, but at the core, you're helping somebody who's at a low moment in their life, and that's been really valuable.
Oh,
A
good.
really valuable experience to me.
Give me the range of cases that you work on.
It could be anywhere from DUI to cases involving somebody passing away. Pretty serious cases. Our appeals cover a wide range of cases and sentences, a wide range of issues. Oftentimes on criminal cases, you're also looking at potential Fourth Amendment issues. You're looking at police conduct, whether or not previous counsel was effective. So a lot of different issues and a lot of different types of cases.
Got it. Is there anything that you sort of deal with more often than others?
I'd say we handle, pretty much, all kinds of cases at a pretty similar frequency. I've seen it all, and I'm actually a former prosecutor. So coming from the prosecutor's office, you really do see everything. And that can range from, lower level nonviolent crime all the way up to murders and homicides.
Okay, excellent. And the whole firm focused on criminal defense or other practice?
So our firm has several different practice areas. Our team works primarily on criminal defense, but we have a family law practice. We have a pretty big civil practice as well that handles a range of issues, probate, estate planning. So we do it all.
Okay.
And we're a smaller office, but we've been around in Milwaukee for I think close to 50 years. And the guys whose names are on the firm did a great job building it up. Frank Gimbel, the founder, started actually in the U.S. Attorney's office here in Milwaukee. So in the early days, they focused primarily on criminal work, but over time, we've expanded into several different practice areas.
Okay, got it. How many attorneys in the firm?
We have about a dozen attorneys, and then obviously a great team of staff members and paralegals who help us out on a day-to-day basis.
Got it. Got it. Where are you from? Are you from Milwaukee?
So I actually grew up in the Chicago area. I grew up in Wheaton, Illinois. It's about an hour west of Chicago. So I spent several years outside of the Chicago area in the state of Michigan, attending the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. Then I went back to Chicago and went to law school at Northwestern. And I stayed there for about 8 years, including law school. And then decided to move up here because I got married and my wife grew up in the Milwaukee area. So we relocated, and it's been great. Milwaukee's a great city.
Yeah, I lived in Chicago for many years, and I've been to Milwaukee a bunch of times. It's a nice area.
Absolutely. You know, I think it's a little easier to get around, at least a little less congestion than in Chicago. So that's been nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you get started? I mean, tell me about your career. Like, how did you become a lawyer, and why did you
Sure.
become a lawyer?
So you know, growing up, I'm like a lot of kids. You know, you saw the lawyers on TV who marched into the courtroom and advocated on behalf of their clients, and I thought, you know, I want to do that. You know, in law school, I decided to start at a firm. And I got several years of experience at a bigger firm, and then decided that from there, you know, I wanted to be like one of those guys that you see on TV. And of course, nothing's ever like you see on TV or in the movies. But, you know, once I became a prosecutor in Chicago, which was my second stop in my career, I was in court every day, you know, arguing before a judge, went to trial frequently. And that was awesome. It just gave me, you know, a lot of great experience actually being in the courtroom and you know, dealing with evidentiary issues, making opening and closing arguments. It was a lot of fun. So, you know, from there, in moving up here, I decided to go to the defense side. I saw a lot of value in being able to, you know, work directly with people who, as I said, are faced with, you know, challenges and probably facing the lowest moments of their lives, and still, you know, being able to appear frequently in court and, you know, ultimately go to trial. So I wanted to remake myself as a trial lawyer and somebody who's in court frequently, and I've been able to do that.
Oh, good, excellent. Yes, criminal defense. I mean, you're probably in court all the time. What about like being a plaintiff attorney, personal injury, civil litigation? Have you ever thought about that?
You know, it's crossed my mind. It's not something that I'd rule out. I think that's another area that, you know, you are trying to directly help somebody who has been affected negatively in some way. There'd be a big thrill in trying a big case for, you know, for a pretty big verdict. I've definitely thought of that. There are actually attorneys in my in-laws family who have their own personal injury firm a little further south. So they've talked to me about that. And our firm does a little of that work too. So maybe it's
Okay.
something I can help out on.
Ah, very good. Yeah, yeah. No, I figured there's, I mean, in fact, I see many personal injury attorneys also do criminal defense, right? They kind of go together. So that's why I
Yeah,
had a hunch that may be in your future. You might have thought about it.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. Is there any memorable case at this stage that you worked on that would be worth sharing?
Well, the most memorable case, you know, in my short career thus far, actually was a case I worked on pretty early on my first year at the law firm I worked at. We represented the U.S. women's soccer team players in their
Hmm.
lawsuit for equal pay.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
and that case actually got a lot of attention. And as somebody who loves sports, you know, I'm frequently on ESPN and reading about sports stories. And it was really cool to see that story being covered there and then across national media. It was a great case, really great to work with, you know, the attorneys who, you know, ultimately brought the players in and filed the lawsuit. Um, and, you know, I got to meet a lot of the players during the discovery phase, just exchanging evidence and making sure that we collected all the evidence we needed. So, you know, ultimately, the case concluded after I left the firm. but the settlement was really positive. So it was great to see that, the work we did ultimately was successful.
Oh, nice. Yeah, who's the leader there? I can't think of her name. She's sort of the spokesperson with it. I think she has purple hair. Or
Oh yeah, yeah. Megan Rapinoe.
did you meet her?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
she
nice.
was really nice. Alex Morgan, her name appeared as the lead class member. So it was basically, class action lawsuit on behalf of all of the players
Okay.
who played for a team for a specific period of time. And she was the lead class member. But I met her and Megan Rapinoe and several others. They were all really nice.
Yeah, Megan.
Um,
Yeah. So did you
yeah.
lead that? So you tried that case?
We did not end up taking the case to trial.
Okay.
The case was resolved short of trial in a settlement. And I think that went into effect a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So,
And what was your
um,
role? What was your role in the case? Did you lead it or were you second
so,
chair?
so yeah, as an associate, especially earlier in my career, I did a lot of research before we filed the case to see, what issues we wanted to raise. I helped with drafting some language in the initial complaint. I did a lot of work with respect to making sure that the class was properly certified. And I went through a lot of evidence that was produced and making sure that, we were able to make the best arguments we possibly could. And that involved going through a lot of corporate documents and emails from the U.S. Soccer Federation. So, you really had to get into the weeds.
Mm.
At the core of the lawsuit, the issue is, the women weren't paid equally, but there are a lot of different things you have to look at to determine, uh, what we had to prove to show that they weren't paid equally. A lot of it came down to what they might have bargained for in CBA negotiations and understandings that they had. So, I did a lot of discovery review with respect to those issues.
Got it. Got it. So so you like trying cases. So tell me about that. Tell me what is exciting about that and how do you become a good trial lawyer?
Well, starting with the second part of your question, to become a good trial lawyer, you have to get the experience, and it's really difficult to get that courtroom experience when you're just starting off at a bigger firm. And in the civil realm, especially, a lot of cases actually don't make it to trial.
Right.
So you really want to focus on the criminal side because at that point, a lot of cases have triable issues, and when there's a life sentence or a long sentence at stake, then you're going to try the case. I at first really didn't have a great feel for what to say or how the cadence of a trial worked. But over time, as I tried more cases, it just became secondhand. And once you get the ins and outs down, and you don't have to worry about what order things go in or what to say at certain times, then you could focus on making more compelling arguments. And that's with respect to the first part of your question, what I really love about going into trial is the ability to make really compelling arguments and to really advocate for a position, whether as a prosecutor it was the people of Illinois, now it's my client, really going to bat for them and feeling like you're fighting for them on their behalf.
Got it. And these are jury trials, right?
Yeah, well, back in Illinois, I was in the juvenile division, so we did mostly bench trials.
Okay.
So moving forward here, they will be jury trials. So whether it's a judge or a jury, you're still making the same arguments and introducing the same evidence, but the audience is a little bit different.
Yeah, except with the jury, right? You got what, 12 people you gotta convince, and it's based on emotions and other things, right? So that's a different skill set.
Yeah, well, and you have to worry about what potential jurors might think. And a lot goes into the jury selection, and
Right.
that's part of my practice that I'll develop, I'm sure, is trying to pick out jurors that you think might support your position. That's I think an art form, more or less. So I'm excited to learn more about that.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I think that's good stuff. Where do you think you got the sort of the appetite for doing this kind of stuff? Were you always like an outgoing, curious You're on the debate team. Was that always part of your makeup?
Well, I'd like to think I'm outgoing. And yeah, I do like, I guess, being in the spotlight, for lack of a better word, although, it is for my client.
Yeah.
And I actually have a family that largely has a background in television. My dad
Oh, okay.
has worked for almost 40 years at this point in television. He's a sports anchor. Um, and my sister is actually a meteorologist in Milwaukee. So
Very
she was here
good.
before me. So, it was great to move up here and be closer to her. But yeah, she's been working down here for a little over 5 years on air doing the weather. So it runs in the family. And I think that's where I might get it from.
Very good. That's interesting. So you got the sports and the broadcaster thing. So that's your maybe an interest in sports. That's cool. Actually, it's funny. My nephew did the weather in Minneapolis, and he's now in New York City uh,
No way.
at NBC. Yeah, 30 Rockefeller.
All right.
Yeah,
That's like the show.
yeah. So
You know,
he was a regional. I think like mini celebrity in Minneapolis. Maybe your sister's the same thing.
Yeah, oh yeah. When you see somebody on TV all the time, people in the city will recognize you.
Oh
So,
yeah,
when I walk around with her, it's like you definitely get a few people who will come up to her, and I guess she's used to it at this point.
yeah. That's excellent, excellent. So any other lawyers in the family? Or you the first?
Um, on my side, I have one of my grandpa's brothers actually ended up teaching, argumentation and debate. He has, legal background. So we do have um, a line of people, I think a little older,
Yeah,
who were involved in the law, were involved in politics. So, that cultivated my interest to an extent, hearing stories from my grandpa and, just wanting to be involved in that process. And then my in-laws, as I said, I have a couple of people in my in-laws family who do personal injury law
yeah.
um, further south in the state. So, once I moved up here, they're like, oh well, we'll get you acclimated and we'll send you all the Wisconsin laws and jury instructions, and so I've been learning up with their help, which has been nice.
Okay. When you say further south in the state, you're in Milwaukee, right? So how much
Yeah.
further in the state where would that be?
So they're in like the Racine area. So
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
about 40 minutes from here. Not quite halfway between Chicago and Milwaukee, but it's close. It's a little closer to the state border.
All right, I got it. Okay. Because Chicago to Milwaukee is only about 90 minutes, isn't it? At least the way I
Right,
used to drive.
right. It's not too bad of a drive. Yeah, we would come up here a lot, even living in Chicago, just to visit family and friends up here. So, yeah, we did that drive pretty frequently over the weekends.
Got it. So how long you been at it, lawyering? How many years now?
A little over 5 years. I started in the fall of 2018.
Okay. So what do you think are the really like key skills and traits you need to be good at this job?
I think first and foremost, you have to be a great listener. And that may be counterintuitive when you talk about arguing at trial. But when you represent a client, whether it's a big corporation or an individual, um, you want to learn as much as you can about what they're looking for, how they may have been wronged, and you take direction from them. Um, when somebody is facing a legal challenge, it's scary and it's confusing. And the best thing you can do is to hear what they have to say, hear about what happened, and then ask questions so that when you provide advice, you're not just talking over them or talking in generalities. You try to mold their case to what they need specifically. So I think that is something I learned because going in, you almost want to have all the answers, but you can't have all the answers until you know exactly what's gone wrong.
Yeah. So if you had to boil it down like to separate like the good from the great, what do you think the great attorneys do? Or what skill do they have?
Yeah, in addition to listening, I think it's the ability to think creatively about issues to raise. A lot of times you can find answers to certain legal questions just by looking at a law or by, reading a case. But oftentimes the best lawyers can think creatively and figure out a solution, even if the law might seem like it says one thing. Raising those issues, I think, can differentiate a lawyer from being good and great. And then in addition to that, the desire and work ethic, I think, can differentiate a lawyer. Being willing to pay extreme attention to detail. I think all lawyers, to some degree, have to pay attention to detail as part of the job, but really looking closely to make sure that you don't miss anything, because a lot of times there is a lot of information that you have to go through.
Yeah.
And being willing to go through it all, I think, can differentiate a good and a great attorney.
Okay. What kind of technology does the firm leverage to try to become more efficient and make sure that you're as thorough as you should be?
Yeah, well, we have a document management system. We have a database of experts if we need to hire experts. We basically want to keep everything organized.
Yeah.
The last thing we want is evidence being in different places, contacts not being able to be found. So we use it's called Clio. It's basically like
Sure,
a big document management system, and
yeah,
that helps us also keep our time and and our calendar as well. So that's the main platform that we use. And throughout my different work experiences, there's usually been a big database that we pull from.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, no, I know Clio. Clio really is Salesforce, I think, designed for the legal industry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's super easy to use.
Got it. Yeah, good stuff. That's good stuff. So listen, just final words that you want to leave with the audience about your firm that you think is important, and the best way to connect with you if they want to learn more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my firm now, Gimbel, Reilly, Guerin Brown, is a place full of outstanding lawyers. As I mentioned, we do tons of different kinds of work. We go all over the state of Wisconsin. I was actually just up in Green Bay yesterday for a couple of cases. So we can really handle it all, no matter what kind of case you're looking at. With respect to the criminal defense team specifically, I have a lot of experience in the criminal field, and our team has decades of experience between them. They do a great job. I've already learned so much just from listening to them and asking for their advice and seeing how we could get creative on cases. And with respect to people listening who might be thinking of going to law school or wondering what they want to do in their career, my best piece of advice is go into law school with some idea of what you might want to do, because it's a big commitment. It's a lot of time. Obviously, there's going to be a pretty big bill at the end. So you want to have some idea of what you might want to do. And it doesn't have to be, well, I want to do this specific kind of law at this firm, but, at least knowing like, hey, I would really enjoy going to trial. I would maybe like to be, in the criminal space, or, I really want to draft contracts, or, it would excite me to do this specific type of litigation. Going in there generally, I think, makes it a little more difficult to make it through those really tough, grueling years where you're, studying for finals and writing long papers. So that would be my big piece of advice for prospective lawyers.
Excellent. Good deal. Yeah, no, it's not easy. It's you got to be committed to it, and you got to really be passionate about it, I think.
Yeah,
You,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you guys work hard, so it's good stuff. You're doing good work and helping the disenfranchised in many cases. So it's good stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. And, I think that's one of the most rewarding things about being a lawyer, is when you can provide that assistance to people who might not understand the system and might not have great access to it.
Right. Absolutely. Well, listen, good. I'll let you get back to doing your good work here, Eric. For everybody, again, Eric Schanowski, and I got to read the firm: Gimbel, Reilly, Guerin, and Brown. Are they all there, by the way?
Well, Some of them might be down south for the winter.
Hey, good for
They're
them.
yeah, these guys they've been around for a long time. But yeah, they're still, around to a large degree, just, checking in on us and helping out the firm. So
Good deal.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm in South Florida myself, so I get that comment.
It must be nice there. I'm looking out the window now and we have some sleet coming down. So you're
Oh
not missing
boy.
much up here.
Yeah, no. I was in Chicago not that long ago. It was really cold, so
Yeah,
I'm happy to be here in 70, 80-degree weather.
it sounds really nice.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks again. By the way, this is sponsored by EmotionTrac, which is a legal tech platform, and we help litigators like yourself prepare for mediation and trials with our Insights platform. So thank you again, Eric. Really enjoyed the time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan.
You bet.